Welcome to Access Your Leadership, where we share inspiring career stories and talk about ways you can level up your own leadership potential. I'm your host and coach, Akeem Lakhtar, and today I'm here with Tali Hasanov. Tali is the owner and CEO of WSI Digital Path Marketing, where she and her team work with clients to drive their business growth and revenue through strategic digital marketing. Tali, so nice to have you here.
Hi, Hakim. Very nice have been here. Thank you for the invite. And hi, everyone. I would like to discuss with you some stories.
Good. Well, we'll get right into those. And the first story I'm really interested in is whether or not you have a leadership win of self or of others that you'd like to share today.
Right. So I, always try to develop certain skills and business development, personal leadership. So this is all connected, especially with certain habits that sometimes we need to overcome. So business growth last year, yes, maybe this was a win, but I think it's just as a result of certain actions or skills that we develop and we kind of force ourselves to develop or change certain habits. So for me, for example, I really established a habit getting up 5 o'clock in the morning, doing my workout, listening to my podcasts for leadership and personal development, listening to my audiobooks, going on a walk, everything. So it's all done before 8 o'clock. So basically, if for some reason, if I'm sick or I'm traveling, I have early sessions and I can do my usual routine, I feel like my day is not going the same way. So what I'm trying to say is our leadership skills, I feel it's established and built throughout other activities and other skills that we have. So I think it's important to establish.
Well, that you're speaking my language. I love all that because
Oh, here you
welcome,
go.
welcome to the 5 a.m. club, right?
Yeah.
And then also I love the fact that your win is a self-leadership win because you mentioned it only briefly, but it's important to highlight that the self-leadership wins that you had in the last year then had a benefit to your business. And you had a great year last year, and a lot of that could be attributed to how you're showing up every day.
Mhm.
Right. And I think a lot of
Right.
people really focus on what actions do I need to take in my business? I need to do this, this, and this. And yes, there are obvious actions to take in a business. But if we aren't leading ourselves each and every day, creating a routine for ourselves that is healthy and in service of what we're trying to do in our business, then, like you said, we feel a little off. I'm on my own journey,
Mhm.
as you know, you and I have talked about it. I'm
Yeah.
on my own journey doing 75 hard from Andy
Mhm.
Frisella, but it's this interesting relation between who we are as just sort of an individual out in the world and then the extensions of us, whether it's family or business or the customers that we're interacting with. When we show up as a version of ourselves that feels congruent and aligned and fulfilled, then it translates into business growth too. So love that.
Exactly. So that's basically about what you do when nobody sees you, right? So nobody's checking, nobody sees what I'm doing at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. 75 hard when I done it a couple of years ago. I remember I was reading about it, and it's like a lot of discussion about it's more mind game than anything, right? It's like not about eating every day or doing those two workouts or what or whatever. It's about mind, right? So
Yes.
it's mind games, how you basically, because nobody checking on you, right? You
Right.
can say whatever. If you're in a group for 75 hard, you can tell them, oh, I done all this. If you lying, then you're not lying to anyone but yourself. That's what I think important. Many things what I noticed, people blame, situations surrounding whatever it is, bad company, bad leadership, bad this, circumstances. But everything is coming from inside, right? It's all depends on your perception, how you see things, and maybe we inside we need to change in order to get better, to develop better relationship and etc., right? To be more successful. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. It all starts with us, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that what you're talking about is what you've heard me say before. It's just sort of outside in thinking versus inside out thinking.
Hmm.
And we, in our conversations, you may have also heard me, the question I ask my clients, which make them squirm, and a lot of them don't like to hear when we're having a conversation about everything, that it's the competitors, it's the market, it's my
Hmm.
team, it's all of this stuff external. And I ask them the question, how are you creating that? How are you contributing to that? Because we have our role to play in that as well. So it's a
Hmm.
great point. So as you
Hmm.
talk about the mindset shifts that have occurred in your own journey, can you tell us a little bit about your story, where you're from, what sort of what you've done throughout your personal or professional life that's gotten you to where you are now?
Right, right. So originally I'm from St. Petersburg in Russia, not in Florida, in Russia. And originally I was studying to play music since I was 5, play piano. And this was very, important back then, that like, and it's very strict compared to, North America, how everything presented from additional activities. It's like kind of, on the flexible side. They're like you have to do like 6 hours a day practice. You have to do very strict, right?
Yeah.
And then my parents moved to Israel. I used to live there for almost 17 years.
Hmm.
And then we moved to Canada. So in Israel, I graduated. I have actually bachelor in piano performance. But I always was curious and I kind of liked technology as well as everything kind of leadership. Probably when I was younger, I didn't really understand exactly what, but I knew that I want to have my business at some point. I didn't know back then how it will happen. It
Hmm.
just was something I envisioned for myself. And so after this, so I graduated a couple of other degrees I have in technology and development. So I worked for like a government agency in IT unit there. And then we moved to Canada, where I worked in different, like in large digital agency as well as the corporations, helping clients with their campaigns and strategies and everything. And many times I was sitting there and looking and saying, okay, that must be done better. There must be better processes done. There must be better, care or whatever results for the clients. And this is basically how everything shifted. And I did some consulting on the side, working even full time, but then it just was a good opportunity, good moment almost 8 years ago when I basically decided on having my business complete,
Well,
like 100% full time.
I love that. I love that journey, and I appreciate the time spent in the arts too, because I think it gives you, just kind of a unique perspective. And I mean, it's not like you were just taking casual lessons once a week here and there. It was something that you spent so many of your formidable years doing, even through your undergraduate bachelor's degree in piano. So I'm
Mhm.
curious to get into a little bit of that, but tell us a little bit about, so now 8 years you've been running your business. What has that journey been like? And, what have you learned along the way? And maybe even we can get into it a little bit. How has your experience in the arts and sort of the experience that you had playing piano for so many years factored into that?
Mhm. Good question. So, how the journey? It's not easy. Let's start from this point, right?
Yeah. Spoiler alert. Yeah, it's not easy.
Anyone who no, anyone who is expecting, to start business and expected to go smooth and
Yeah.
easy, it doesn't happen, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't, at least I didn't see it happens. So, and to be honest, a few times, especially, a few years back, I was sitting, after maybe frustration with the client or after certain moments, sitting back there thinking, you know what, like I had enough of this. I just get full-time job and that's it. No headache, no, whatever. But then I think back on what I invested, and I'm not speaking just financially in the
Sure.
business. I'm speaking even invested in myself to basically grow and be able to do what I was able to do. And
Mm.
then I'm like, oh, this means that everything goes, to garbage. So this is basically was a waste. So and then it's like, no, I'm not gonna work for anyone. So and I always try to push myself So let's say public speaking. I hate it with passion and I'm kind of not comfortable. Many people are not, right? They say
Right.
public speaking is fear number one for people, even
Yeah.
some more than,
Yeah.
dying.
Dying. Yeah.
Yeah. So I started with this journey as well. So I'm speaking at some international conferences a few times a year on topics related to digital marketing, email marketing, etc. And this is also, it's like to overcome something that it's really, some people maybe feel more comfortable, they have less, barrier. Some people feel, I mean, again, with practice, you probably get better at managing your kind of emotions and getting there, but it's certainly a step to overcome, right? As
Yeah.
well as in
Sure.
your development, right? And you asked about music. That's great question, because I was reading, doing some research, and people who learn to play an instrument, music, and everything, and even kids at school. Because years ago, I used to have students, and so those kids usually intellectually much higher perform than those that who don't learn or play any instrument. And there is a research done that music actually is the only kind of industry that engage your brain completely, like all the aspects of your brain. So saying that, I think it's really important, especially in marketing, digital marketing with AI, with things, how they change every day, something new coming. You can't, what worked last week, last month might not work anymore, right? So it's basically about finding those creative solutions, finding those, optimizing, trying, different things, analyzing. So I think it's really helpful in that aspect of creativity, analyzing, and trying to find solution for any kind of situation.
Yeah, it's such a great answer too, because as I think about music, obviously the correlation isn't directly like, oh, well, because of my piano playing, I incorporate that into my, it's not a, a sort of A to B kind of benefit. But I think that what you described was, I was at a conference yesterday, and we were talking about AI and emotional intelligence and,
Mhm.
sort of the disconnect and connection between the two. But also, I asked a question to the panel saying, when you are thinking about an organization and the culture within an organization, what do you look for in terms of mindset? And you just described it perfectly, which is, and actually like this open-mindedness and this receptivity to possibilities. And I think that music opens your mind to all possibilities, because you have to, as you said, engage all parts of your minds all at once when you're playing music. Sort of the analytical and the emotional and the receptive, all of that is happening. So as you're thinking about, digital marketing or strategy, instead of your view being narrow, like some people may be, it's a lot broader. And then things that your clients are maybe limited in thinking about, you say, yes, of course, those are options. But what about all these over here?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as you've thought about like those moments where you have had doubts and you've thought to yourself, okay, I'm just going to go back and get my full-time job. It makes me think about the comment that you may hear from a lot of entrepreneurs, which doesn't really resonate with me, is, oh, I'm an entrepreneur because I'm a terrible employee. I couldn't work for anybody. And everybody always sort of chuckles about that. But actually, when I think about it, I was a great employee. And I could have very easily stayed in my career and continued to grow steadily through my career. The choice to be an entrepreneur was because I felt called to do it, to do exactly what I'm doing now. But also, you sort of alluded to something, which was, now as an entrepreneur and running my own business, I feel like I've almost grown out of what I would have to be very conforming, very good,
Mhm.
quote unquote, good employee like I once was. Now I don't want limitations to me. I want to be able to do
Mhm.
whatever I want to do, regardless of what my organization's mission is or initiatives or directives are. And is that what you came back to in those moments where you were sort of questioning whether or not you wanted to stay in it? Or how was that process for you? What were you thinking about?
Yeah. So I'm with you, Hakim, on that I think it's wrong to say, and I never actually heard that people say I'm terrible employee. Probably I spoke to entrepreneurs more than I did, especially about those topics, because I don't think it should be the reason to start a business, right?
Right, right.
So it's probably, not the right cause or reason for that. I think that, and it might be, perception, but still, when you in certain mind frame and in certain positions, and I saw it actually in a couple of companies I worked for, it's almost like you're not supposed to think or do something outside of your kind of responsibilities or your, you know titles
Yeah,
that supposed to do, right?
yeah,
Even though that if you could contribute and it would be better, it's like, you're not supposed to do it. So this particular company, I lasted 6 months there, and it was actually a funny story. So when they hired me, they promised me so many things. We will manage this, develop this. So I basically first 2, 3 months I was sitting there, had nothing to do. And I can't. For me, it's like I need this, action. I need some development, because some people, would be surprised. Well, I used to work there like for 10 years more. They don't care. Yeah, they see internet. If they have some task to do, they do, and you get the paycheck, and that's it.
yep,
And happy, right? I was just going crazy. And like I came once, twice. All right. Then after 6 months, I'm saying like this is enough. It's not contributing, not to my development, not learning anything. I mean, even that I was getting, good pay and all the, benefits, but it wasn't satisfaction for me, right? As a person that you're supposed to develop or learn something. And
right.
again, in that case, it would depend, because some people were happy there, right?
Hmm.
Kind of stable pay, great. So when I came to human resources to say that I'm leaving, she was so surprised. She asked me probably 10 times if I'm sure that I want to leave such great company with such great pay and conditions. I'm saying, yeah, I'm sure I want to leave. So saying that, for certainly having your own business, it's super challenging, and not, I find, not everyone can do this, in sense of it's not about being smarter or about being stupid. It's nothing to do
Right.
with those. It's just some people, they can't kind of struggle with those struggles, or manage to get out of those situations, right?
Mm,
It's simple as this. This is why I'm sure those stats that 80% of businesses fail after whatever 2, 3 years, right? So that's kind of critical point when you make or break it, right?
yeah,
So I find a lot of things, and it's not just business, right? It's how you committed to everything. And they say how you do one thing, that's how you do everything, right?
you got it.
So that's about compound effect in all the actions, all the steps. So it is from small things we spoke about, morning workouts, getting up, to what you eat, what you think, what you read, and it affects business as well. So certain steps needed to be done in order to develop the business, develop the leadership, grow the business, and etc. So in certain, when you employee, you just, some cultures are
Hmm.
really, you know, narrow-minded, and you mentioned this as well. So some companies, they might be a little bit more open to flexibility. Some, they don't really, where, as I mentioned to you, basically, oh, you can do, no, you're supposed to do this, and that's it. So, and for some people it's a good fit, for some it
Yeah,
doesn't, right? It really depends on the personality, it really depends on the personal goals and
yeah. So
values.
when you were in those moments, Tali, what were you saying to yourself? What was like the self-talk like when you were thinking to yourself, maybe I should just throw it all in and just go back to a full-time job?
Yeah, exactly what I mentioned. And I had a couple of offers, very, very cool companies with very good pay. And back then, the pay was offered to me. It was few times more than what I was making, working, I don't know how many hours a week with the stress and everything. But I think when you're going back, it's important to understand why you started it at the first place.
Mm,
And I personally hate to kind of quit something. So and again, thinking back is like, okay, just imagining those situations, working in a company and, exactly what I described. And saying, no, 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 I'll better take this stress and the risk, right? Rather than doing this. But again, this is my preference. For someone else, it might be not the right fit, right?
yeah. Well,
And actually, sorry,
no, it's
that's
okay.
interesting because as I mentioned, I'm listening to business slash self-development podcast every morning. So, and there was one saying the how much you can grow the business. I don't remember exact words, but the level of stress that certain things bring you is how much you can grow. Basically saying if you will be super stressed about little thing, then having a business or growing, it's you can't, because
Right.
then and there were examples of big millionaires, billionaires, all the companies were suing them and everything. So you have to take things in proportion. So if
Yeah.
stressing about little client that quit or didn't talk nice to you or whatever, I'm just bringing examples,
Yeah.
then probably it's you just hit certain certain
Yeah.
ceiling and that's it.
Yeah. It's limiting yourself. I mean, that's ultimately what it comes down to. And I think, and it's not to say that full-time employment is limiting yourself. It's like, as you said, it's a personality thing, it's a preference thing, it's an appetite for risk. Because
Mm-hmm,
even as I was leaving my traditional career to launch my business, people said, "Isn't this risky? You've got kids at home, they're 5 years old, you've only got one income, you're going to forego that good income to then what, build this practice?" And I said, "Yeah, there is some risk, but there's also risk staying in an organization that I don't feel like I'm being challenged or being utilized or that I can grow in the ways that I want
mm-hmm,
to. There's risk there as well. So it's a matter of evaluating that risk. And as you were sharing, I was thinking of two books. So right now I'm reading Grit by Angela Duckworth.
uh-huh,
And then the other thing that I'm thinking about, and I will come back to that, is the sort of Ryan Holiday obstacle is the way. When you talk about the relationship between the size of the quote unquote issue or problems that you encounter or
mm-hmm,
obstacles and where you are in the business, if you're stuck on a small problem, you're thinking small, you're playing
mm-hmm,
small. And then guess what? Your business stays small. But if
mm-hmm,
you can actually see these obstacles or these issues or these challenges as opportunities to get to the next level, to turn the
mm-hmm,
corner,
mm-hmm,
there's going to be gold in sort of the terms of growth and expansion and knowledge gain that will
mm-hmm,
occur. And a lot of people, personally, professionally, whether they're entrepreneurs or full-time employees, we encounter these bumps in the road and we get thrown off track. And then we have those moments naturally where we start thinking, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to go back and get a full-time job, or I'm not doing this.
mm-hmm,
I'm going to quit. And that it goes back to that grit piece, which is the consistency, the commitment, whether it's your routine in the morning, whether it's your business, to keep putting one foot in front of the other
mm-hmm,
and say, why did I choose to do this in the first place? I'm here for a reason, not so that I could try this out for a couple of years and then, throw it in the trash and then go right back to where I was 2 years ago. I have grown, I have changed, I have evolved. And as I continue to do so, so will my business.
mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I think it's a lot to do. If you told me, let's say 10 years ago, this is what I would be doing those days, I would never believe, right? Like I'm speaking from personal perspective to professional, clients having speaking at conference, like everything, right? I would not believe you, right? So it's about many times it's not about a goal, final goal, but it's about the progress and a process you're going through, right? And this is how we build ourselves and develop. So that's important. And interestingly enough, I have one employee that works for me, and she's like willing to learn and everything. But again, sometimes thinking very kind of, and I don't like to macromanage people
Hmm.
and everything. So, and I'm trying to teach her like how you're supposed to think a little bit bigger, even if you have certain problem. It's not directly you have to run to me, or but think first about what possible solutions can you come on with by yourself without
Hmm.
running to someone, right? So try to solve, even if it will not be a good solution, but at least you will try and expand your kind of brain or possibilities, or even thinking creatively what
Hmm.
potentially you could do to solve this, right? So who you should involve, yeah, sure, but I mean thinking more globally. And it's actually related directly to marketing, digital marketing those days. Marketing is not about anymore, single channel website or SEO or email. People supposed to understand that it's should be done holistically, because nowadays everything is, one affects another, and
Hmm.
our job is basically to analyze how to improve it, but to look holistically. And consumers are much more sophisticated those days compared to a few years back. So when they come somewhere, they already done their research, probably like 60 to 80% down the road, right? So it's really important to look at things holistically, and then you can come up with creative solutions.
Yeah, I like that. So true. I mean, I think consumers today, like even one-on-one clients that I'm working with in a coaching capacity, they're not going to one source. They're not all in one place where you can go to
Mhm,
them and capture them there. They're everywhere because everywhere is accessible to them.
mhm,
So they're looking for information that's going to make them a smarter, more strategic buyer. So to think holistically like that, and the thing I want to go back to, again, sort of referencing this conference that I was at yesterday, one of the panelists mentioned that when he's looking for individuals to be a part of his team, one skill that he really focuses on is independent thinkers,
mhm,
not critical thinkers like we've heard for so long. Oh, we really want critical thinking skills. Well, he's like, yes, of course we want people to have critical thinking skills, but we want them to be independent thinkers
mhm,
where they feel like they can rely on themselves, that they've got this sort of level of clarity and confidence in what they can offer up in terms of solutions, so that they don't always feel like they need some sort of crutch, whether it's
mhm,
a software or it's a person or it's a team member, whatever it might be, actually starting with themselves first and saying, where would I go from here? What would I do here? And not limiting, going back to this sort of self-limiting belief, but not limiting themselves to thinking, oh, well, it's not my job, or I don't have the capacity to change this, or well, what would I know? But actually letting themselves think freely and think independently.
yeah, right, yeah, absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about the work you're doing. And I'm curious, what are you excited about in this year ahead?
So yeah, we do certain implementation of certain processes internally and in work related. So yeah, so we work basically with small, medium-sized businesses, helping them with everything related to online presence, marketing. At the end, they need leads, sales, either brand awareness or competitive advantage. Some might need more of presence, some might need more leads, but at the end of the day, it's to position themselves professionally online. And we do it through, we are full service agency, so we do always strategy first. So to understand the client needs, goals, industry, what they're looking to achieve, what they done before, their competitors. So when we have a proper strategy, then the implementation comes to play. So if needed, we will create a website, or if makes sense, again, depends.
Hmm.
SEO, organic, paid, social, and email marketing strategy, automation.
Nice. Awesome. And what's
Yeah.
what's exciting for you as you think about where the business is going. And it can be aspirational, it doesn't have to be anything that's like set in stone, but is, well, what are you excited about in the year or years ahead?
Right. So obviously the goal is to grow, and the goal is, but to grow in the right way, I would say. Because sometimes I'm sure you also faced similar situations that maybe clients end up not the right fit, right?
Yep.
Not the right fit to the, to your services, to values that you provide. Same for us. So the goal is to grow, but the right way, to serve businesses that really understand the values, that really understand all the hard work that we put in, because we always overserve,
Yeah.
overserve for whatever clients pain, we overserve, but we would be important to have the right people on board, basically, same mindset of growth, and being on the same page. I think that's super super important, because when you get into certain relationships that it's not the right fit, it just spoils certain things, and it's just, not good for anyone, right? So I think that goal would be for this and next year, grow, but the grow the right way, and implementing additional processes that would help optimize this. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I like the intentionality behind that because I don't think there's anything wrong with being selective about who we work with.
Hmm.
And I am quite selective about who I work with because I have fallen into that trap where new
Hmm.
client comes on, I'm thinking, wow, this just came in the nick of time as I'm starting my business. I really needed a new client, and here's one. And in the back of my mind, I'm noticing red flags, or I'm noticing
Hmm.
something where I'm like, oh, this could be a challenging client, or this client isn't super coachable. Is this really someone I want to take on? And I did, knowing that maybe in my gut I didn't really want to, or that it maybe not a
Hmm.
right fit. And to your point, it takes a lot of energy. It requires a lot of attention that could be put elsewhere.
Hmm.
And when I'm working with the clients who I absolutely love and who are fully engaged and they're implementing what we're talking about, they're ideal clients, it just lights me up. And what they can create inspires me to do more out there in the world. And it just feeds in such a positive way. So I like that you called that out.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I fall into the same trap you did, and what I realized, like, for 100% certainty, when you have something uncertain, even during the first initial, even discussion, even before you even go to anything deep, this probably you shouldn't. Because if even you have the smallest hesitation, smallest kind of uncertainty that maybe it's a good or not good fit,
Mm,
regardless of, you think, oh, maybe I need more clients now, I need to pay, rent, I need to pay whatever, right?
sure.
Salary should not
Yeah.
move ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. The word that comes out there is trust.
Yeah.
Trusting yourself and actually
Yeah.
realizing that you're good enough of a judge of character,
Yeah.
and character maybe isn't the right word, but sort of a good enough of a judge of fit
Hmm.
to assess clients, and you want it to be mutually beneficial. I mean, obviously you want it to
Yeah.
benefit you as the provider, but you want them obviously to get a lot out of it as your client too. And if they're not contributing in the way that you would want an ideal client to, then it misses the mark completely.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
as you think about leadership, what is a skill or attribute that you think people ought to focus on if they want to become better leaders of themselves, of their business, their careers?
So I think first of the skills super important is consistency.
Mm,
I think consistency, focus, also super important. I think focus, consistency, and probably at some cases, not always, is it's always important to basically step into someone's shoes to be, more understandable and everything, but in certain cases it makes more sense than others, if it makes sense what I'm saying. But I'm
hmm.
saying, I if to align three top, I would say focus, consistency, and understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hearing
Mhm.
empathy in there. Yeah, I mean, I think, you
Mhm.
know, I think that's always such a good one. We've had a lot of guests on here where they've said empathy, and empathy is this sort of idea of like really understanding people and where they're coming from, which I think for what we do with our clients is a necessity. And you even described that's where you start. Like where are we? What is it that you want? What is it that you've tried? What is it that hasn't worked? Um, but I think that understanding people's perspective and knowing that we can't know what other people are thinking. So this commitment to seeking to understand before being understood is can be quite powerful. But I love the fact that you called out, especially given the conversation we had, consistency, with
Hmm.
this real clarity and focus on what is it I'm being consistent about and how does this serve me or my business or my clients.
Hmm.
So I love that. Will you tell us a little bit about where people can find more about your company or they can reach out to you and connect with you?
Right. So I'm on LinkedIn, obviously, just my name, Tali Hasanov. I'm there. My email is tali@wsidigitalpass.com. And the website is the same website, wsidigitalpass.com. Yeah.
Good. Well, I'll put all that in the show notes so people can check those links out. Tali, spasiba. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate the time that you've spent and you sharing a little bit about your own story, but also your level of commitment to the self-leadership aspect of the success that you've created in your business too.
Thank you, Hakeem, and thank you everyone for listening. It was pleasure, a lot of fun chatting with you. I really
Yeah,
enjoyed it. Thank you.
my pleasure too. As always, I'd love to hear from you about the episode. What came up for you as you think about leveling up your leadership game? And please, if you enjoyed the episode, I encourage you to like and subscribe. And if you want to connect with me, you can find me on LinkedIn at Hakeem A. Lakhtar or lakhtarcoaching.com. Thanks for tuning in. Keep being great. We'll see you next time.